sound.com.
Hey, everybody. I want to welcome you to a very special episode of the Land to Sea Real Estate Podcast. In this podcast, we're going to go over off-market deals. What are they? Are they even real? Do they even exist? To talk about some off-market deals, first I want to introduce a member of the team in Texas, Mr. Justin Ramsey.
Hey there. I joined the team probably a couple months back. I've been on the EXP Commercial side of things for a good 6 months now. I'm based here in Dallas, and like I said, we do work with a lot of these off-market properties.
And then I want to introduce to you guys the czar of the underground off-market world, Mr. Sam Katzenburg.
Hello, guys. Justin, good to talk to you, and good to talk to you, everybody. This is a fun time of the year to get into the off-market stuff. We can go over a whole bunch of stuff as you want to. But yeah, the off-market stuff is a real special part of the business that most people don't even know what they're really referring to. So we'll go over a lot of that.
Awesome. And I'm really hoping to lean on you for this call, Sam. As you mentioned, you were a professor on this topic, and I'm sure this is something that you have spoke about at length in front of a crowd. So if you wouldn't mind, what we'd like to do is have you kind of take the floor. Tell us, what is an off-market deal? What makes something off-market? How can you sell something that's off-market? And at the end, looks like a couple of people are starting to come in. We'll have more people will be on the live stream, and then we'll do a Q&A with you and take some questions from the crowd.
Good. Thanks, Kevin. I really appreciate it. So anyways, off-market has a very, very specific meaning, and this is coming from the National Association of Realtors, who, as Justin is, as well as Kevin is, and we're members, and I've been a member of the National Association of Realtors since I first got my license back in Arizona. I have a licensed brokerage in Arizona called Global Acquisition Investment Network, and it's based out of Phoenix. Personally, I live in Florida, and so forth. So, but off market, and I go there every 2 years to do my continuing ed classes. I have to do 30 hours every 2 years, and I do go there as opposed to doing them online, because now I'm invited by the Arizona Department of Real Estate to do a 3-hour class on off market. This is just not a lot of qualified people to do this. Off market is simply real estate deals that do not go on LoopNet, CoStar, LinkedIn, CommercialSource.com, Brevitus, Crexi, or any of the multiple listing services. It's not, I've heard about it. It's not somebody told me about it. It's not something that somebody sent me an email on. It's simply that they're not on any of the paid sites, the internet sites. So that's the first and foremost big thing about off-market real estate. It's LoopNet, CoStar, LinkedIn, CommercialSource.com, Brevitus, Crexi, or any of the multiple listing services around the country. And obviously, as agents, we all know the MLSs. So that's the main thing right there, Kevin.
That's awesome, and that's huge. That's the biggest question that everybody asks: what exactly makes something off market? So
yeah, I get the call, and I know Justin does. Justin and I have had many a conversation about it, and so forth. Well, somebody told me, about this. Well, it's not because somebody told anybody about this. Doesn't make any difference. And then I've had people say, well, it's on the MLS, it's on this, it's on that. No, it has nothing to do with what somebody told you, what somebody said it was. It's where the property is. And I've had also people tell me, well, you don't have to have a real estate license to do off-market real estate. What? You know, that's crazy. That's like saying, well, I don't have a medical license, but I'll go in and do that heart transplant anyways. So yeah, you gotta have a real estate license. It's the same thing. It's just not any on the site. So that's where we're at, Kevin.
Well, yeah. Well, I had an off-market deal that was between me and the seller and God, and I emailed it to about 15 people. Within 10 days, 2 wholesalers emailed the same deal and tried to pitch it to me. So just because things go viral, so to speak, does not mean that it isn't really off-market. You're right.
Off-market has nothing to do with I heard about it. It has nothing to do. It's where the properties are posted and listed. Okay, if it's and I'll share this with you. Yeah, and I've had people say, like if you go to some of our contemporaries out there, like with Marcus and Millichap and CB Richard Ellis and stuff like that, there are things called where you have they have off market stuff that they just don't put on LoopNet and stuff like that, and they simply they have it, then they and they don't it's completely off the market as well. So
well, talk to us about
sometimes
reasons why sellers may want to sell but not be on market.
that's correct. You do get better buyers because you're cutting out a lot of the people that are just kind of looking around, people that are just skulking around, gathering information. And I'm not saying gathering information is bad, because it is good, but there are people out there that do it for the ill will of the business, not because they're trying to do some of their pre-due diligence. So that's just a cold hard fact. Now after when I left Century, like I said, I was with Century 21 for 7 years, and I did the on market, the MLS deal, the residential stuff, and then I left there when the economy tanked in 2008, and went to started Global Acquisition in August of 2008, and now we're into our 16th year of Global Acquisition, and I've met a lot of great people, like the you guys and Ace from and a lot of the people from EXP Realty. Outstanding, probably one of the best outstanding groups that I've talked to, because I've got people that are with that talk to the from Marcus and Millichap and CB Richard Ellis and all the rest of the thing, and not. I'm telling you, I know we have a lot of EXP people listening to the podcast, and I'll tell you, you guys are absolutely top of the line compared to CB Richard Ellis and the rest of them.
Well, we certainly appreciate that. And then there's other reasons as well. Like we market a lot of businesses, hotels, restaurants. If the employees were to hear or to look on LoopNet and see the business or the property for sale, that would certainly scare some of them. And, the owner doesn't want people to start looking for other jobs or quitting because they hear that the property's for sale. So owners will ask for discretion or ask to sell off market for those reasons too.
Outstanding. It's an outstanding idea. No, that's a good point. And yeah, you get because on LoopNet everything goes. Like I say, I've used LoopNet before. I used LoopNet when I was with Century 21, because I did a little bit of commercial and I put stuff on there. I had a guy that came up to me that I was at an air show that I had a table that I did with the air show. They had a show over there with the people that wanted to sell their wares, and they they wanted to list something, but they didn't want it to be on market. And I actually knew back then, that was in 2008, that about the off market type of stuff. And I put it on LoopNet, and I sold his office building over there in Phoenix, Arizona, North Phoenix. And so I got the bug about that. And then when I left Century 21, when my broker ended up retiring after 44 years in the business, and I already had my broker's license back then I started Global, and it zoomed to what it is now, going 2023, going into 2024. So yeah, you're right.
So are there any other reasons why a seller may want discretion, or estate sales, or when a board of trustees gets involved in taking a property over?
Well, the one thing would be where, I'll just use and it happened to me. I was back in Arizona, and I knew an agent. He was an agent, not a broker, but he was in California, and he had some people. I had a listing in Atlanta, and it was 419 units down there in the southern part of Atlanta, about 20 miles away. And so a guy goes in there, and this is an off-market property. He had a buyer that was interested because he already had properties in Atlanta. He goes in to see his other properties, but then he went to see this property, and instead of just doing as I told the agent, to do a walk around or whatever, and you'll get your walk through due diligence. So he goes into the listing office, or the rental office, because they had a rental office on site, and he goes in and says, "Yep, my name is so and so, and I'm looking to buy this property." And so the gal kind of gets freaked out, because now, some people bring in the idea that they're going to buy the property, and people lose jobs and stuff like that. So she got her boss, and then that got back to the seller. The seller called me up, and probably couldn't sit down for about 3 days after that, after he got to let me have it. Fortunately, I didn't lose the listing. But yeah, people go in, and they'll go into a hotel, and they want to buy the hotel, but they should be going in, if at all, and just say, we're having a party, we're going to have people coming in from out of town, we're checking to see the hotels, if people are going to go ahead and to where they're going to stay. Can we see a room? So we're just doing our scouting for the party that'll happen, let's say next spring or next fall or whatever it is. And so people have to be very, very careful on what they're saying, but they're always absolutely going to get a better crowd of buyers if you end up selling a property and you're keeping it off market.
Now, even though something's quote unquote off market, as a broker, you still need to market that property. So how do you do that?
Well, people say, well, how do, you can't, you still have to market something. I can't just put up a red flag and say, hotel for sale in Dallas, come get it. The people aren't going to start running. You still have to be, you have to actually be creative. I don't do these postcards and stuff like that, but the stuff that I do, I'm like you guys, like Justin's on the phone, we do it nationwide, and that makes it a little bit more, but we have a pretty good group of people in our network. Matter of fact, I know a lot of people through Justin and through Kevin, that we talk to each other a lot. I speak to Kevin and Justin probably almost every day, every other day, whatever. And so we market to our network, and that's it. And I've got a pretty substantial network of both other agents, other brokers, and buyers, and so forth like that. So we try to keep it. It's almost like in-house, if you will.
Makes sense. And that goes back to what you're saying, that you get a higher quality buyer in that sense. You kind of control to a degree who gets to see it. Even though, like I said, I emailed a listing of mine to about 15 people, and it only took 10 days for someone I didn't even know to try to send it to me and sell it. Okay. So actually, I just saw a really interesting question came through here. Oh, this is an interesting one. So somebody asked, can you share a success story of an investor who profited from a off-market deal simply because it was off-market?
Good question there.
And I think what he's trying to get at is, was the price different because it was off market, or was the situation, the fact that he was able to buy it discreetly, did that lead to
No, that made a big difference right there. I know Justin and I could bring Justin in. He's here on the podcast with us. Is that Justin and I were working with a client of his out of North Carolina, and Justin, you remember this one with I'm trying to remember the gentleman's name. He's out of California, but anyways,
let's not use names for the sake of the.
Well, that's true too. But basically, he wanted to sell his property out there in North Carolina, and then he was going to take that and do a 1031 into another property, so that he was able to his doing his from a tax standpoint. So that's actually one. You're actually selling him to doing two deals with one, and he's holding off on his paying his capital gains taxes with the 1031. So that's one deal that was a positive right there. That's a good question. That's a great question. But you can
the biggest example that comes to mind for me was actually pretty relevant to here in Florida. A gentleman by the name of Walt Disney made a series of off-market purchases that significantly he profited from. I don't know if you guys know what I'm referring to, but essentially Walt Disney started buying up a bunch of land through shadow companies that he set up. And before anybody realized what had happened, he owned a significant amount of acreage in Central Florida. And that's where he built Disney. Had they known, had it been on market, and had they known that he was doing that, they would have driven the price up on him, and he wouldn't have been able to do it.
That's an excellent point right there. Now, and anybody that's been around, they know Walt Disney, and they've got land to they got so much land they don't even know it exists up there. So yeah, it's a great point right there.
Awesome. Okay, so here's an interesting question. Do the negotiations and due diligence differ when dealing with off-market properties as opposed to on-market properties?
No, because you're still going through the same process. You're still putting in a letter of intent, and there are people that have maybe some different protocols, but typically I've used the same protocol. Like just I didn't make up this protocol. It's the same protocol that Justin uses, and you, Kevin, and and any other licensed broker around the country, where you do the letter of intent. I mean, you can eschew the letter of intent and go right to contract. But the advantage of the letter of intent is that you're basically the attorneys basically haven't gotten involved in the process yet. They could through the letter of intent, but typically not. And then the letter of intent, some kind of either a proof of funds or a financial capability, and there's a difference there, and we might want to discuss that, because that's always that kicking point on whether the deal is going to go forward or not. A bio or a website from a buyer to show that they've got potential properties, and of course the off market. And that this is one thing that people have an issue with in a lot of cases, what we in the business call MFAs, we call them master fee agreements. Without that, any licensed agent can get the deal done, but they're not going to get paid. Okay, you
Right.
have to have
Well,
that.
okay, could
You
you
have to have that.
speak on that?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Because I agree with you. The steps are the same. The biggest difference would be most of these off markets are, let's say, a big hotel or whatever the case may be, where the seller, the owner, has agreed to allow a broker to bring an offer to the table off market, but they say, I'm not going to sign an exclusive listing agreement with you. I'm not going to let you put it on the market. And then before you know it, there's 3 or 4 brokers that he's all said, yes, if you bring me an offer, I'll consider it at this price. So
Right.
that's the thing, is if you're a broker or if you're a buyer, is making sure whoever brought you the deal, whoever took you to the dance, is the one that you finish the night with, because it is off market, because a lot of them are non-exclusive. There is a concern, and you want to make sure you're papered up that they don't go around you and go. They honestly, they could go directly to the seller if they were to find out where the property is or who the seller is. Or a situation that just happened. I was just on the phone with somebody who, and it was an honest mistake. They had been shown a property 2 months ago, and they thought it was interesting, but they never did anything with it. And then someone else showed them the same property, and they went with that person. Well, that person got commission, and the first person said, I showed you that property 2 months ago. Oh, I'm so sorry. Well, not just I'm sorry, you signed my NDA. You owe me that commission. So that's getting ready to go through mediation. They're going to figure out what's going on there, because the funny thing is, she signed the second broker's NDA. And then she was all concerned, and I told her that within the NDAs, hopefully it's in theirs, most of them, it's in ours, there is a provision for prior knowledge. So you're not responsible for prior knowledge. In other words, because the first broker had presented it, the first broker's commission is protected because she went into that second presentation with prior knowledge.
And then, the word that they need to use is procuring costs. It's a technical term that if it had to go through the court system or go through mediation, whatever, that word is going to come up, and that's, she has the right, because she brought the property to the principal and stuff like that. It's called procuring costs. But having that, you got to make sure that you get a master fee agreement signed, because in like when we were in residential, or when I was with Century 21, we didn't need a master fee agreement, because when you're going through and you're selling houses, or if it goes through the multiple listing service, whether it's commercial or residential, the MLS works with the board of realtors in the particular area that the two individual brokerages that are selling with the buyer and the seller, that's an agreement that gets paid through the title company or through the close of escrow, and at that point, there's no misunderstandings. Those two brokerages get paid, and the agents, of course, get paid in addition to that. So, yeah, you gotta make sure that you take the you get to that master fee agreement signed. Most of us as licensed agents and brokers know exactly what I'm talking about. If not, you got to get one made up and make sure that a lot of the provisions are in there. That once it's sold, that goes to the title company or closing attorney, depending on whether it's an attorney state or not, and that goes with the contract to the title company, and that's how the MFA. That's how all the paperwork from the title company gets put together. So you get everybody signed up, and then the brokerages get paid at that point.
Well, Kevin, on the example you just mentioned, did the second broker even have the right to market this property, or how did that work?
Yeah, it's non-exclusive.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not exclusive. So it's definitely something that happens. One more thing I want to touch on, and then I have a question for you, Justin, is there is another key difference between on market and off market. And from a perspective of a broker, if and this is where you come in, Justin, if I'm cold calling hotels and I say, hey, are you interested in selling your hotel? I want an on market listing for a couple of reasons. But my reasons aside, I believe the seller should want an on market listing because number one, he's going to get more interest. Number two, he's going to have more leverage. I've noticed in these off-market deals, people feel like they're part of a very exclusive conversation. So they don't feel as pressured. They don't feel that another buyer is going to come along at any second. Whereas my on-market listings, people are, hey, is this still available? Is somebody looking at it? And the due diligence periods are lower. The offer price is higher because they have that anxiety that anybody can find this online. Anybody can see it. When they feel like no one can find it, they take their time. Okay, I've even had people tell me, oh, I've got time. After I tell them how exclusive the deal is, no one else knows about it. I've got time. So everybody gets their own view on it. But I always say you do not know the market value. You don't know if you got top dollar unless you went on market.
I agree. I mean, that's been my experience with these hotels. 99% of them don't want it listed for whatever reason. I mean, a lot of them, like you mentioned, they're afraid the staff is going to quit is probably the most common answer. But for whatever reason, they want this marketed to a select group of buyers that we're supposedly bringing. So just it does delay the process. I mean, it takes a while to find that buyer since it's not mass marketed like a typical on market would be.
Right. We're going to the buyers. The buyers are not going to us.
Exactly. Yeah.
And on market listings are a great way to network and make new clients. We have people that call us all the time. Hey, I like your medical office in Venice. And then we show them the deal and they say, oh, this isn't what I'm looking for at all. I'm actually looking for a podcast studio in Fort Lauderdale. And we're just blown away. But we get, because it draws so much attention, then we say, hey, are you working with a broker to find that podcast studio in Fort Lauderdale? No, I'm not. Well, hey, we'd be happy to. Now, all of a sudden, we turn one client into two clients. So that's another thing that we as brokers like about on market and need to fight for more. When a seller says, no, I only want to do off market, but doesn't have a good reason, then, and we just had this with a land listing in Frostproof that we're about to take on the market. The seller was very adamant that he wanted it off market, but I said, it's land. You don't have any employees. You don't have any, there's no compelling reason why you should market this off market. Let's put it on the market. You get more interest. And it took a week, but I finally was able to convince him to do that. So that would be another key difference. But Justin, you've had a lot of success cold calling these hotels and getting these guys to agree to sell. Can you talk on that? How does someone generate an off-market deal from scratch?
I mean, I've had a lot of luck just using Reonomy. I mean, I'll target a city, and just go down the list and hit all the hotels, and in the back of my head, I've already got a buyer that's mentioned they're looking in that area, so I know what I'm not just calling out of the blue. That, it's the same. I know we talked about there's 2 potential listings for you guys over in Florida. Spoke to the owner last week. He says, I'm willing to sell. And like I said, me being in Dallas, I said, I'm gonna set you up with Kevin. He'll go out there, and I don't know if you've heard back from him, but that's a nice little off-market lead.
Yeah, actually, we appreciate that too. That was a great client. That was a great alley-oop on your part, and speaks to the networking power of EXP and obviously our team, Land to Sea, all throughout the country, how we're able to put deals together. So this particular deal that Justin's referring to, he was cold calling, ended up with a gentleman on the other line that had a hotel in Florida. Well, Justin's in Texas. So the guy agreed to sell, or at least to meet us to sell. And we went out in the Florida market, met him, really hit it off with the guy. Not only is he going to let us sell his hotel, but he's looking for a 1031. So he wants to get into a bigger hotel.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a great client and a great example of how working together as opposed to working alone. Even though I'm not going to get 100% commission on that deal, Justin's not going to get 100% commission on that deal. But this is an example of how 10% of 10 to 20 deals is going to pay you a lot more than, we can really only close by ourselves maybe 2, 3, 4 deals in a year of this size, of this magnitude.
Right.
So being able to work on them and tackle them together puts everybody in a position to get themselves, their name in front of more clients, which we all know leads to more business, and get a little piece of this deal, a little piece of that deal. And now all of a sudden at the end of the year, you're paid more frequently and you've made more money and your book of business is larger because you touched more deals.
And this, correct me if I'm wrong, this guy had the same reasoning. He said he was afraid of his staff quitting if this went on the market, so he wanted to.
Yeah, he did. And honestly, you can only push so far. That's a very strong reason. And that's why we do take off market listings, because that's a great reason to not put a big sign out. The employees come into work Monday morning and they see a for sale sign. They're going to be scared. They got mouths to feed and they certainly don't want to deal with that. So that is a property that we are going to list off market. And actually that'll be on the website by the time this podcast is over.
It's interesting, Kevin, that you mentioned that, and Justin and I have talked about it, and Justin knows this property that I'm going to bring up is exactly that. Long before I even knew Justin, it's been, I've known this guy for a while, and then he wanted to list his hotel. It's in New York, and Justin knows who I'm talking about, and he didn't want to list it. He didn't want to put it on any of the sites and stuff like that because he was worried about his employees finding out about the hotel and they're going to lose their job and stuff like that. And, the owner now and I have become really, really good friends, and I'm working with him on a potential buyer as we speak. And it's being sold strictly to an off-market group that's looking to buy the property. So Kevin, you brought up that's a really, really good point that you brought up.
So what are, years of experience in off market, Sam? What would you say are some things that you've learned? And obviously there's a lot more people joining commercial real estate for the first time. Maybe they have not done an off market yet. What would be some tips and tricks or some ways for them to not show how green they are when they're speaking to an off-market broker?
Well, a lot of it is where, when I talk to, like I say, with me, I don't deal with a lot of direct buyers. I do primarily with sellers. And, when we do the off-market listing, the biggest thing is vetting out the buyer. As a licensee, meaning a licensed agent, licensed broker. In my case, I'm a licensed broker. Is just getting the buyer, making sure that somebody's just not a bunch of information seekers. And I get it where people need to do their pre-due diligence. I get it, and that's the reason why. And I can speak for all three of us, Kevin, Justin, and I. We give out an amazing amount of information up front. It's not just a little flyer that Justin may have a property on, or I have a property, or you, Kevin, whatever. We give out a lot of information, but there are people out there that'll say, well, I need more. Well, we also have to get, we have to get the seller involved as well. It can't be just the buyer. We give out a plethora of information in terms of even, just not just the addresses, but, we'll give out, assuming we can get, like when I go out and I do a listing for a property, it doesn't have to be a hotel, it can be anything. I tell the seller, look, you want to get a letter of intent and a proof of funds, right? Well, what's he going to say? No. Of course he's going to say yes. So I go ahead and tell them, look, I need enough meat on the bone to be able to give to a potential buyer to be able to get the to be able to get the letter of intent, a proof of funds to show that we've got a buyer that's financially capable, and an LOI, a proof of funds. And if it's not a proof of funds, you get an attorney letter on attorney letterhead that the attorney states that the buyer has worked with our law firm for years. They are financially capable to buy X amount of, this such and such a property, whatever it is, for that amount of money. And then they can go proof of funds, attorney to attorney down the road.
I'm glad you said that, because that question comes up a lot, especially from the newer agents. Or when I have a broker reaches out to me and says, hey, we want to make an offer on that $200 million luxury hotel in Miami. And I ask for proof of funds. The most common response is, what do you mean? So what is proof of funds, Sam?
I mean, in a perfect world, not everybody's got $200 million in a bank account. I get it. Okay. So, especially, if you're working with, let's say, a multifamily property, an apartment building that's 12 units or 15 units or 30 units or 100 units. Okay. People have typically a proof of funds where they may have multiple accounts that they can get from their bank. They get their bank statements every month. Either that, or I started a thing several years ago, and it's called Plan B. Plan B is something it's just I came up with, and I kind of run with it a little bit, where people just say, go to your attorney, get a letter, get an attorney on letterhead, just basically one or two paragraphs that such and such a buyer wants to buy this such and such a property. You want to be specific for, they're financially capable to buy it for whatever the amount is. If the property's 12 million, 15 million, 8 million, whatever the number is. But, you get into the really large numbers and you start talking hotels that might be 100 million. No, I don't expect to see a proof of funds and a bank statement for, nobody's got 100 million in a bank statement for the most part. So you get an attorney letter. It makes it really, really easy. Personally, I don't care about seeing it. All I do is I send it over to the seller's attorney. I send it over to the seller, and they go proof of funds, attorney to attorney in the formal due diligence period. Makes it very easy, but people always seem to make it hard on the buyer's side. So to me, Plan B is the best way to do it. And in the LOI, it'll say, or in the attorney letter, it'll say verifiable proof of funds to come in the formal due diligence period. That's probably the easiest way to do it.
I just got a great question that I know you'll be happy to answer, Sam. Are there any legal or ethical concerns in dealing with an off-market property?
Well, I mean, you got people out there that like to play real estate, just like we used to play doctor and cops and robbers when we were kids. We ethically, that's the thing that we all, Justin and myself and you, Kevin, we're all having problems with the ethics part of it, because there's a lot of people out there that like to take somebody's proof of funds and spread it all over hell's half acre. And that's not a good thing. That's what the buyers don't want that to happen. They want that proof of funds. Like I say, personally, I don't care about the proof of funds, but my job is to bring a qualified buyer to the table for the seller that I'm representing. So, get me the letter from the attorney. I don't see a proof of funds and then they'll state in there that the proof of funds to come in due diligence, and we eliminate that part. But that's a really good question you're asking me, and it's we can try to make a bad situation better and so forth.
Yeah, and ultimately, I'm not sure if they meant this by the question, but ultimately, attorneys are required to be involved. Licensed realtors are required to be involved. The title company is required to be involved, just the same as an on-market property. So from that point of view, nothing illegal is taking place. Because I've had people ask me that, and I said, no, there's still going to be a closing. There's still going to be.
The process is 100% the same. It's the same letter of intent, the same proof of funds, the same X amount of days in due diligence, whether it's proof of the days on the as far as the due diligence period goes, the close of escrow date, the amount of earnest money, the percentage, whether it's 1, 2, or 3, or 5%, or whatever that number is, and that's an agreement between buyer and seller, by the way. And so, yeah, you're right. There's nothing different. It's still the same exact process going forward with the protocol and stuff like that. Absolutely.
Well, this one kind of piggybacks on that, which is oh, I just had it. Oh, let me scroll here. I just saw it. It's kind of a similar question. Oh, here it is. So, in terms of financing, do lenders offer financing for off-market properties?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's still, people have to realize off-market or on-market, it's still a real estate deal. There's no difference. I mean, we have to have real estate licenses to do it, meaning, gentlemen like Kevin there and myself and Justin, we still have to go through the same process. There's nothing there that's going to change, whether it's the protocol, whether it's the amount of lending. Lenders absolutely will do off market. They don't ask whether it's on market or off. I guess I could ask the question, but it's not going to make an effect.
Funny you say that. I've never been asked. I've never been asked by a lender.
It could be asked, absolutely, but yeah, there's no difference whatsoever as far as getting a loan. And you can do, if the seller and the buyer can agree on things like loan assumptions and carrybacks and stuff like that, or getting new lender loans. It's all on the table, just like it would be on any deal that you're going to do. Absolutely.
So here's one. Just had it here. Oh, Sam, does the current state of the economy influence the prevalence of off-market deals?
Yeah, well, it does. It absolutely does. I mean, when we were dealing with 3-4% interest rates, I mean, and now we're at what, 7 and 8%. Yeah, it affects whether it's on market or off market, and that's the thing that we do. Hopefully, like on smaller deals where like right now, you'd want to get into a 1031 exchange type of deal if you're a buyer and stuff like that. Because but yeah, you're dealing with the on market stuff and the off market stuff, whatever. Loans. It's hard to get a loan right now, and it's hard to get a loan. To try to buy a property where the cap rate might be 5 and 6%, and the whatchamacallit, the interest rates are 7 and 8%. Where are you going with your property? With your purchase, you're in trouble.
Well, Sam, you're probably seeing a lot of this as well, but I've had several buyers that either look at assumable debt or they want some sort of seller financing, like just for the interest rate problem you just mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy, and like I said, I wish I had that crystal ball with the interest rates. I mean, I'd like to think everything is cyclical in the respect that they'll go down with hopefully within the shorter than whatever they can't go up anymore. I mean, this is crazy, and the economy took a major hit, to say the least, with the COVID situation. before COVID, you'd see a lot of 8, 9, 10, 11 caps out there. And now, in your market, Justin, in Dallas, and, Kevin's over there on the Tampa area, and I'm here, well, in Florida, but wherever nationwide. And, you see interest rate, you see cap rates now that used to be in the 8s, now are like in the 5s. And it's it makes it tough on the buyer, and it hurts everybody, to say the least, with the interest rates.
And I saw a question, I can't find it, but I did see a question about business brokerage. In selling businesses off market or on market, all businesses are sold off market for the most part, because actually a business, same thing as a hotel, they don't want their employees to be scared and quit. So businesses, even Biz by Sale, which is the #1 place to market a business, you won't see the name of the company, the brand, you won't see the address. It will just kind of vaguely describe the business, and then you have to reach out to the broker, sign their NDA to get the information. So that's kind of the way that we're handling these off-market real estate deals, the way that we market businesses. So it's a good question. And yeah, ultimately, for the most part, all businesses are sold off-market.
Yeah, like I say, and I know, when I joined Century 21 in 2002, my broker at that point made it very clear to us as newer agents, or being a newbie, so to speak, at that point, was that we don't do anything that isn't fee simple. And that fee simple is when you have the restaurant and everything else, but now you also own the land. You also have the deed to the land, and that's what makes it fee simple, or on the market, makes it fee simple, and so forth, and stuff like that. So yeah, business. And Kevin, you're more familiar with business brokerage than I am. I don't, I have some things that are, but they're with the land as well. Some warehouse stuff up in Michigan and so forth like that, where you have it's two warehouses side by side, and there's tenants already in there, but you're buying the leases, you're buying the buildings, but you're also buying the land that the properties are on. So yeah, business brokerage is another really good avenue to go if that's somebody's type of interest in investing. But you're more familiar with that stuff than I am.
Yeah, it's all very sensitive. It's all very much, you got to make sure that the buyer's qualified, financially able, and signs that NDA, because like you said before, we want to avoid tire kickers and window shoppers. Well, window shopping real estate property is one thing, but window shopping someone's business, where you're seeing their numbers, their inner workings, their process, their patents, their client list.
Huge. Yeah.
Huge. We've got a restaurant that has a special recipe and a special way of doing something I won't even mention. It's kind of unbelievable. They're making millions of dollars doing something very simple that you wouldn't probably ever think of on your own. But it's not something that I can just say, oh yeah, this Joe Schmo is thinking about buying. Well, Joe Schmo may own the competing business. So, and it's actually another difference in business brokerage. There is often a list. Don't show my business to this person, this person, this person, this person. Whereas in real estate, that it happens, but not as often as when you're marketing a business for sale.
That's a good point. It's there's a gentleman that I know. He's a licensed broker up in the Northeast, and I've introduced him to Justin and stuff like that. And he does both on market, off market. He does business brokerage. He does fee simple type deals that I always work on, and stuff like that. And he and I'll send them down to Justin. And now that I've gotten to know you, Kevin, I'll make sure that you get his list. They are listings from him, and they primarily are off market. Occasionally puts them on LoopNet and stuff like that. And that's certainly fair. And that's certainly his prerogative. It all depends, I'm sure, what kind of an agreement he's negotiated with his seller. But the main thing is that he has the businesses type of thing where they don't own the land, so that's not something that I typically get into. But that's certainly an investment type of person for whatever that works out for that buyer.
Awesome. Well, this has been a really, really good episode, packed with a lot of information. I don't want to overload you guys too much. Obviously, if you have any more questions, feel free to reach out to the team. Feel free to also check out, I'll leave the link in the description below, the landtosea.com/off-market page. We have at this point just over $6 billion worth of off-market properties. And if you guys have questions about those, obviously you have to sign the NDA to get further information, proof of funds, everything we just talked about. But go ahead and take a look at what we have. And with that, I'm going to check the questions one last time, make sure there's not any good ones here. We pretty much covered most of these. Yeah. All right, so I'll kick it off to Justin and Sam. Do you guys have any parting words for everybody on off-market properties?
Nope, I think we covered a lot. I appreciate having the opportunity to speak to your audience right there. So thank you very much, and hopefully there'll be some people out there that'll be looking at Kevin's list, and a lot of the stuff comes from both Justin, myself, and a couple of other brokers within our party as well. And we look forward to doing some business with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sam. Appreciate your time. Let's get one of these deals closed.
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Appreciate you guys. And with that concludes the episode. Thank you for everybody. Appreciate it.
Bensound.com